Hello, everybody. Good evening. Welcome along to the Boardroom. This is usually this time on a Sunday night as our members' show, but obviously due to recent events, due to some breaking news, we decided we'll make this one public. Hello, my name's Martin. I'm your host. Joining me tonight, we've got Callum, Kenny, and Alan. Gentlemen, good evening. Hello, everybody in the comments. Please make sure you like, share, and subscribe, and all that good stuff. Anyway, let's get to it. So, Rangers never, ever fail to ruin your weekend. Even if they do it once, what they do is they just then ruin it again the following day. So, Kevin Muscat will not be the new Rangers manager. This sounds awfully similar to a conversation we had a few weeks ago about a certain Steven Gerrard. For reasons, let's be brutally honest, Muscat's team have kind of let a few things out. It's all about the level of control that Thelwell is, and I'm not going to take the credit for this. This was David Edgar earlier on. As Thelwell and Sons want to have at the football club. The Kevin Thelwell is director of football, his son as the head of recruitment. Clearly, there's something not meshing there by managers are trying to bring in. Clearly, Thelwell is waiting for a yes man to just be able to do his bidding for him, having very little control at the football club, and serious managers just don't want that. They've not got time for that. They're not going to take the responsibility of Thelwell and Sons' mistakes. So therefore, Muscat has decided against becoming the manager of Rangers Football Club. Whether you wanted Muscat or not, this again shows where this football club's at right now, what kind of mess this football club's in. It's went from embarrassing to just downright, and I don't want to use the word, but it feels like corruption at the very top of the football club. That's what it feels like. And obviously for legal reasons, I'm not saying that's what it is because I still want a podcast tomorrow. The original plan for tonight was to discuss the game yesterday, discuss where the team's at, discuss the hunt for the new manager, Kenny. But with the sort of breaking news tonight, mate, what's your your feelings on the whole manager situation?
It's blatantly obvious now that there's a couple of problems at our club. And one's got slightly a bit of hair, another one hasn't. Sorry, Alan. And it's glaringly obvious for the obvious reason of Marathi and Kavanagh spoke to Gerrard, fine. Thelwell Stewart speak to Gerrard, he's out. Muscat speaks to Kavanagh and Marathi, and then Thelwell speaks to him and he's out and all. It's all to do with recruitment control. I think this recruitment of his boy, that he wants him and his boy to run all the players. I'm sorry, guys. When was the last time you two pair of half-wits was a coach? Where's your credentials about formation and tactical awareness and what players and what we look for and what's the philosophy? How do you know that? So you're wanting the manager to come in and tell you his philosophy and you pick the players for his philosophy? My God, even that sentence is stone mad. He went to Everton. I love that comment. 145 million he spent on Chermity to fight relegation. We're spending 30 million with Chermity to do what? It's. I said to you boys before we come on the show, if you look at the Todd Bowley scenario, the Americans, they did get it very, very wrong, but now he's got it very, very right, and they changed their backroom staff a couple of times. So I'm hoping this
directors and stuff, Kenny.
Yeah. So I'm hoping this is where. Listen, they want him to be able to Fenway Sport, of course, or you out, but it's not. It doesn't look like that. It looks as if, like Alan says to his off camera, they're sitting back and trying to assess it all and get it. They will get it wrong before they get it right. I think I'm not going to panic with the owners, but what they must glaringly see is there is two cruxes in our boardroom that's causing major problems with phenomenal managers. You get Mancini, that's sitting out for a job and all these different managers. They're never going to touch your club because they're managers. But Rangers' etiquette of a club has always been a manager and a coach with them. Mm-hmm. It's always been that. And it works. And I don't understand. Listen, I'd be very, very surprised if we didn't hear something about these two in the next few days. I would seriously hope and pray that somebody has some balls and turns around and says, listen, you have pooed the bed, mate. You're out. It's glaringly obvious you're in over your head. And there's no sporting director, boys, that should be making any recruitment suggestions or decisions overriding or superseding any manager. Right? Never happening.
No, it really shouldn't be. And Alan, you could maybe look at the Steven Gerrard situation and say, right, well, we don't 100% know what's went on there. You know, there was all sorts of rumours about timing and tax, etc., etc. But now with the Muscat thing, it's pretty obvious, isn't it?
I think it's not very difficult to read what's not been said officially and actually pick out that this is a big problem in control, because we've had directors of football that Steven Gerrard worked under quite happily and quite successfully at Rangers, and Mark Allen and Ross Wilson. You know, he was quite happy to work with these guys. But I've said many times before, we recruit to replace a role, and we redefine the role every single time. You know, and it's very, very clear that there seems to be a big issue with the scope of Kevin Thelwell's role. I don't think that there's an issue as operating a director of football, but we can operate a director of football model with a first team manager. I really don't think it has to be a head coach simply coaching the players that are picked by the club. You know, that we should have a first team manager go on and telling the recruitment team, right, I want a left winger, go and get me a shortlist. And then it should be a collaborative process. Right, here's the shortlist. What do you think? I'm not expecting a manager to come in and take control of scouting and everything. You know, there's got to be a support structure and a structure there. But the role and the scope of Kevin Thelwell's role seems to be a massive issue, because we've obviously made a very big play for Steven Gerrard. It's not happening. We made a play for Danny Role, who's took himself out, possibly for different reasons, because it seems we've left that boy hanging, and the club have maybe reacted to the sort of fan reaction, because it seemed that he was odds on for a job when Gerrard backed it. That Danny Role's odds absolutely fall dramatically, and it looks like he's the man getting the job. But to me, it looks like we've left him hanging, because the club have been burned by the reaction to the news that Russell Martin was coming in. They didn't actually bite to that. They carried on. They went through and done that deal. And the fans turned on Russell Martin halfway through his first friendly. You know, the club saw the reaction, and he never, ever got the backing of the fans. And I think the club shut the bed with appointing Danny Role and didn't even have a decency to tell him. It just seems that we've left him hanging. Then made a big play for Kevin Muscat. And we've completely made a mess of that, because, again, it really looks like a question of influence. Somebody's going to come in, and the first team manager, the first team head coach, whatever you want to call him, is going to take the brunt of the results if they're not going well. He's going to be the one getting the brunt if the players are not playing well and not getting a performance out of them. And if that's going to be the case, he wants an influence, and rightly so.
I can't argue with any of that, Callum. We're sitting here now, 2 weeks after Russell Martin's sacked. We've just drew 2-2 with Dundee United. We're screaming out for a manager to come in, and Thelwell and Stewart are too busy with their fingers up each other's arses.
I'm raging. I'm absolutely raging at what these two guys have done, mate. I mean, you think about it, we sat Russell Martin right before the international break. Should be the ideal time. You've got plenty of time without any league games. Go and get another manager in, right? First few days we go after Sean Dyche. That doesn't work. Then we go after Gerrard. We all think that's going to happen. He turns it down. Obviously, the whole thing with Danny Role and now Muscat. I mean, shambles doesn't even describe it. And you know, I've seen Heart and Handler saying, like, the club are coming out with this nonsense of, oh, it's because we didn't want to wait to appoint Muscat as manager or whatever. I'm not buying that one bit. They were happy to enter negotiations and get a deal in principle with him, and now they're saying it's about that. I think it's entirely because this guy Thelwell is arrogant. He's in way over his head, and I just can't believe this guy. He thinks he has some divine right to do all the signings at Rangers and tell the managers what to do. I mean, what have you actually done at our club to earn that kind of credit in the bank to be making these decisions? It's just a complete joke. The fact as well that both Gerrard and Muscat, they wanted to manage us. You know what I mean? Gerrard was doing that interview with with Rio Ferdinand like a week or so ago. He was saying, I'm waiting for the right opportunity. And there was all this flirting with Rangers and all that. Muscat's been negotiating with Rangers multiple times, and we still can't get it over the line. I mean, Rangers is not a club where it should be hard to recruit a manager. You know,
No.
as bad as we've been run, we're still a massive club. We pay you a lot of money if you're the Rangers manager. You've got the opportunity to play in Europe. You know, it's still a very well sought after job. And we've never traditionally had this sort of trouble appointing a manager either. I can't remember it ever being this farcical, guys. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's now at the point where these two, they've got to go. I mean, we were all pissed off with them already, but this is just the final straw. I can't believe it. Like, you know, for it to happen once with Gerrard and we're all heartbroken is one thing. They do the exact same thing again. You get late into negotiations. By the way, it was all fine when the 49ers and Steinson and Kavanagh and all these guys, when they were negotiating, no issues for Muscat. But as soon as he starts talking to Thelwell and Stewart, that's where the problems arise. I mean, it is so obvious that these two are the problem at our club at the minute. I know Russell Martin has to take a lot of responsibility as well, but they should have went away him. And I don't know what the owners are seeing now, guys, continue them in their job. I mean, they've negotiated successfully with Gerrard and Muscat. They've handed it over to these two, and it's gone tips up. And now the fans are raging. And look, Stevie Smith, the poor guy, he should never have been in this position. As I say, we had an international break, plenty of time. He's had to take the team for Dundee United, and that was, you know, a shambles the second half. And now he's going into a massive European game, which is an absolute must-win because we're basically good if we can't get a result out in Brann. Total farce, and it's absolutely non-negotiable that Thelwell and Stewart need to go now. That needs to be the next announcement. I think before any manager, get rid of them because their incompetence is destroying our club at the minute. I can't believe they're in this position. They've got to go now.
I mean, I'll come back to that in a wee second. What I will do, Kenny, is I'll bring up this super chat that completely covers Alan's face from Ian Mitchell, channel member. Thank you very much for the support, Ian. Beyond a joke now, get Stewart and Thelwell out. Seems to be the problem why everyone says no thank you. Where now? Martin will like it, but I still say go get Robinson. Kenny, the next manager or whatever, we'll come to that in a wee sec. But as Ian Mitchell's saying there, and by the way, thank you for the support, Ian. It's what we've all just said. They have to go, and they have to go now. So
we all agree on that. And I've never once said ever in my life, watching Rangers in the turmoil and in the good times or the bad times, is to boycott games. But see if that's what it takes to get these two son of a bees out of there, then we need to do that because it's glaringly obvious now that those two are the problem. Now, you're saying get Robinson, right? Robinson, brilliant manager. But you try to tell me that Robinson's going to walk in at a door and start picking the best of Scottish players and Thelwell's going to okay it?
Exactly.
No,
yeah.
Sorry, no. And we could probably have a really good identity for a manager like that or McInnes. Okay? Because you need to win the league first to get into Europe, first and foremost. So the snobbery of these two idiots would dictate any manager that comes in. That's why I'm worried, boys. It's not because sacking them or no, if they're still there, it's whoever they come in the door, that manager has then agreed to the rules, let's say, that Thelwell sets. That's my worry. It's not who comes in, it's the manager that's come in has then allowed himself morally to jump out his own comfort zone and allow Thelwell to pick players. I wouldn't trust any manager like that now because I know that's what's happening. So unless we as a fan base start doing something drastic, these owners need to really, don't get me wrong, right? We might be sitting here hypothetically talking like this and then the next couple of days he's out and he's back here, but I can't see it because his boys just walked in the door. But the worry for me is there's two really, really good Scottish managers sitting there, right? If that's the way we need to go. However, I know for a fact that they two good Scottish managers would want the best of talent for Scotland and maybe England. And think
Thelwell does not rate any Scottish players. He's already proven that he doesn't rate anybody in Scotland. I don't even think Thelwell rates the Scottish League.
No, it doesn't. He's snobbery. You can tell by the way he's buying players. I mean, I'm going to keep saying it, right? I know it's the Shanklin bus, but come on. He assists as much as he bloody scores. It's glaringly obvious he would score plenty at Rangers, but no. We'll go for Chermity for 8 million. Oh, cheers, pal. Mm-hmm. You know, it's madness. You're going away to Majowski away over across the water when the guy's sitting there and you've got other strikers sitting there in the Scottish League. You've got great midfielders, you've got good right backs, left back. They're all sitting there, but he's not interested, Martin. So that's one of the biggest reasons I want him out the door, because he think it's almost like an English thing down there, isn't it? They just think, it's all right, Russell Martin will win that league up there. But now it's getting to another stage where they know that can't happen. So you put yourself in a position where you get a manager that's really good. Gerrard's won it before, and Kevin Muscat, who wins loads of stuff, and you screw the both of them. And you don't, at interview level number one, which is your owners, they were fine. Everything was sorted, agreed in principle. Gerrard and Muscat. As soon as you get to this halfwit, he's saying, but wait a minute, I need a big say in what's happening with transfers, because that's my job. They don't want a mind of their own in there. They don't want a mind of their own manager. And a mind of your own manager brings a philosophical leadership, which players bounce to. And they go, "Whoa, this guy's got a bit about him." That, you know, you've got to get your players to believe in the guy who is a manager of your team. You can't have a guy walking in there and the players don't know who's pulling the strings, because then they're never going to have any respect for your management, because they know that it's not really you that's bought that player that come in the door. So it's a bloody farce. And I'm worried, boys. I'm worried about who comes in, because they've got to agree to Thelwell's demands, and that is madness to say that. Madness.
And that's not even guesswork anymore, Alan. I mean, multiple sources have confirmed basically that's why Muscat knocked back the job. We were all talking about it, like I said earlier, when Steven Gerrard knocked the job back. You have to be willing to bounce to Thelwell's tune. And a Derek McInnes, a Stephen Robinson, they ain't bouncing to Thelwell's tune. Absolutely no way. So if we can't get managers at when I say level, I mean reputational wise, right? If we couldn't coax Derek McInnes or a Stephen Robinson to come in and manage Rangers because of the way that Thelwell and Stewart and Thelwell's boy wants to run the football club, who do we get?
It's a massive concern, because I think it casts a shadow over anybody we bring in and put in position.
Yep.
But like Kenny's saying, you know, how do players view the guy that comes in? Do they view him as a soft touch, as somebody that's just a yes man, somebody that doesn't actually have the authority to really pull rank and dictate exactly what they're going to do? You know, is it going to be a case that, you know, it's somebody that just cannot command the respect of players, and we continue seeing the same garbage churned out? But ultimately, the new owners have come in and spent a lot of money to take control of this club. If we continue failing to sell out hospitality because the fans are turning away because of what's going on, if we continue not buying tickets for European games, if we continue not winning games in Europe that we should be winning, it's costing the club several £100,000 every single time. They've got to be looking seriously at the money that Thelwell spent on Chermiti and Fernandes, who are not getting a look in. Chermiti's coming off the bench now and again, and he came off the bench yesterday and it disrupted the shape of the team. It moved the player of the match out of position and out of any influence in the game. You know, and listen, I'm not wanting to lump on the boy. You know, it's not him. It's dictated that we spent £8 million, but if we spend the money that we spent in the summer, we need guys to be coming in and having an instant impact.
£8 million you do.
You know, we could have brought Lawrence Shanklin in for nothing and you'd have made an immediate impact. We're not in a position to be a project club. We've never been a project club. People at this club are accepting that we're a project club and accepting that we're setting best absolutely boils my piss, because it's no good enough. This is Rangers. And listen, Jack Butland alluded to it quite well in his post-match presser yesterday. There's too many people at this club don't get it. There's too many people involved at this club don't get that you need to be on it all the time. You can accept sometimes it's not going to go your way. I don't think we can ever be angry that we don't win every single league title. You know, greatest manager ever won 17 or 18 league titles in 34 years. You don't win it every year. But we're not even in a position where we're getting everything we've got and been beaten by a better team. we're absolutely chucking this away. And too many people at the club think that's all right because we're building something.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of push because there's teams turn over massive amounts of players in leagues where they're winning a very few big teams and are competitive every single season. You look at the turnover of players in the top Dutch clubs or top Portuguese clubs, you can be a stepping stone in a club and still be successful and still be fiercely competitive. Right now, what's going on at our club, there's far too many people thinking they've got time. We need people to come into a club. It's not about hitting the ground running. You've got to hit the ground sprinting at Rangers and see if you can shape up, bolt, get out of our club.
Completely agree. That's an excellent point, though, Callum, in terms of, and it was even something that Russell Martin said after draws against Dundee. There's going to be some bad times. There's going to be some bumps in the road. And like Alan says, a bump in the road is not winning the league. Right? That's a bad time. That's a bump in the road. Bump in the road is not dropping points at home to both Dundee clubs. You know, a bump in the road isn't getting absolutely destroyed for 90 minutes by St Mirren and Paisley and just escaping with a draw. You know, these aren't bumps in the road. This is simply unacceptable, and not enough people at the football club understand that. Thelwell and Stewart most certainly don't understand that. Stewart's an Aberdeen supporter. What would he understand about success? You know what I mean? Aberdeen haven't been successful for years and years. That's his team. That's what he understands. He doesn't understand Rangers Football Club. And as Vix is saying in our super chat, Callum, I'm here but have no words. Thought 2012 was bad. Not quite as bad as that, because that was one of the worst periods in our history. But it's really bad now, Callum.
It's bad, mate, and I think you and Alan are both hit the nail on the head there. Too many people at the club that just don't understand the standards. You know, like you were touching on there a wee bit, Martin. We can take seeing our team lose. We can take seeing us drop points. We're not that ridiculous that we expect us to win every game, but we've got to be seeing something. And you know, with this whole Kevin Thelwell tenure in particular, man, you can't even cling on to one positive he's brought to the club, mate. It's just been terrible. You know, keep in mind, it's only been 4 months and the fans are already this against him. He actually did come in with quite a lot of goodwill. It's kind of seen fresh start for the club with his takeover. I think people are willing to give him a lot of time, but I mean, you look at it in totality, mate. You know, right, first of all, recruitment. This guy, Chermiti, I mean, how bad was he yesterday when he came on? And, you know, I hate to be really harsh on the guy because he's a young boy and, you know, as I say, it's not his fault, the price tag, but that deal absolutely stinks. It literally does look like corruption. Well, that's probably not what it is, but that is how it looks. It is that stinking a deal that we paid $8 million for this boy, and he just doesn't even look remotely ready. You look at the whole Russell Martin farce, right? All the fans were saying to him, don't appoint Russell Martin. It was very clear for the outset that he was no someone who was going to energise the Rangers fans and we were going to get behind. They do 7 rounds of interviews or whatever, a thorough interview process, and they're saying, oh, best coach I've ever worked with, Russell Martin. They're talking about this attacking, intense football. What a carry-on that was, do you know? And they've just constantly missed the mark, taking the piss out of the fans, said a lot of nonsense which he doesn't connect with us. And I just think they just don't understand the club, do they? You know, we've got a bad record of getting these guys up for England, and I think, as Kenny was kind of touching on me, but I think there is a bit of arrogance towards the Scottish League for these guys a lot of the time. Well, they do just kind of think it's a coast because Rangers have all the resources and, you know, they're the biggest club or whatever. It's not a coast at all. It's a very, very difficult league. As Alan was touching on, Rangers is never like this project club. Do you know what I mean? Once again, we're not expecting to win every single game, but the standard always has to be success, frankly, because the size of the club demands it. It's not us being, you know, too big for our boots, whatever. Rangers is a massive club, tens of millions of fans, best supported club in Scotland. We do have a right to expect better for our team, especially when, you know, how much money has been ploughed into that team. 20 million net spend that Thelwell's put into that squad, and does it look much better? No, we've had one of our worst starts in years and years, so look, it's not as bad as 2012. That was really, really terrible. And, you know, I don't think all is necessarily lost. You know, hopefully we can get a good manager in. I don't think all the players are bad. I think they did show up points in, you know, the first half yesterday. There is some quality there. But It is really, really bad. And Thelwell and Stewart, it's just untenable. It's just untenable. You know, the damage Thelwell has done, and you put it in the context as well of how pish that mob are as well. Do you know what I mean? Losing to Dundee, they're as bad as I've ever seen them. Even if we were just mildly competent, I think we could be on to a much, much better season here. But it's a disaster. And really, we're going to have to take action. If it has to be boycotts, it has to be empty stadiums. I don't want to tell fans what to do. That's their own right. But mate, something's got to change, because this whole Thelwell Stewart carry on is a nightmare, mate. Nightmare. Remember the buzz we had when the takeover came in, guys? It should have been a fresh start. And this Thelwell and Stewart, man, they've absolutely butchered it, and they need to go.
Yeah. I'll tell you about what I just get sent there when we're done. I just about shat myself. Thankfully, the person was winding me up. Kenny, William Graham, Super Chat, thank you very, very much, William. Hey, guys, what the actual fuck is going, and I'm swearing, and I don't care, and I apologise, is going on at Ibrox. The structure of the club is flawed. Who would want to coach a club without having a say in your playing staff? Kenny, I've got a feeling that there's going to be a lot of maybe Super Chats that are along these same lines, but thank you very much, William. And it must be a little bit deeper than that, though, Kenny, because there is clubs out there who roll with the model of, we'll go out and scout the players, and we'll give you a list of players that we've scouted that we feel are good enough, and you can pick the players that you want from that list. Mm-hmm. It must go deeper than that, because if Gerrard and Muscat have knocked it back, it must be, the interpretation I'm getting is that Thelwell's saying to them, I'm picking and signing the players without your yes or no, without your approval. That's the only way I can see this, because so many clubs nowadays work with a scouting model that they get a list of players and then you can pick the players that you want.
So you've nailed it in the head. It's the opposite way of what the player model for the sporting director normally does at clubs with a brain. So they're demanding that they have most of the say on everything to do with recruitment. That's why he's hired his boy. And we're laughing and joking at the comments, saying Big Angel take it. Mate, even he wouldn't work with that half-wit, because he would want to say he's that type of coach. So there's a sporting director model that's been put up across Europe that's been slowly changing. I say slowly changing, that's probably nonsense, especially when it's Barcelona and stuff. That ex-pros are all their sporting director. Edu at Arsenal, Deco at Barcelona, Carlos Rummenigge at Bayern. They're all your sporting directors. They're the people that deal with the management. So I don't see a problem with that when you've got Craig Moore's done it before. You've got, what do you call the big fella? Davy Weir has done it before. That's how you get that buy-in in the club, when you've got people from Rangers or for Rangers or anything like that can do that job, because the cohesion is going to be better with managers and the money gets spent the best way. I think that's the way the model should be. Listen, they need to have a business head on them, right? But if you've got ex-players out there that are doing the job now somewhere else anyway, they're doing it not too bad, especially with like Brighton. David done a good job there. And it's good enough for a lot of clubs now. I mean, I think Edu was phenomenal at Arsenal doing it. Maybe we should have went possibly down that route so that we had complete cohesion between sporting director and management. Then if you got your Scottish managers, you would start to see something happening. I completely believe that. If you had Steven Gerrard, I mean, look what happened when Ross Wilson got the job at Newcastle. First one on Instagram, Gerrard. Well done, mate. He always sung high praises because it was the way you said. He would drop a list, him and Steven, and then he would try and get who he could get if it was feasible. And it worked a treat. And we haven't got that. We've got the guy doing the other way, So just pay the diddy off. Put Davy Weir in. Davy Weir sitting doing punditry, for God's sake. Just do something. And make this be an identity club again, because we've lost it all, and we've got the Americans. Don't be silly, boys. The Americans know they've made a right arse of this. They know they have, but again, we don't know contractually how that pans out. And Thelwell seems like a little. I think Thelwell seems like a little, a little snake. So his contract would have been phenomenal. No, I kicked him off. I've kicked him off the internet. I've told them they're not on the internet for an hour. So basically, the point is, he would have contractually wrote something in where it's going to cost us a fortune to get rid of him. He's a little snaky a guy, and you can be damn sure he's done that. So it may be harder to get rid of these two than we think. But we need a Rangers. But if there's Rangers players out there that can do a sports director's job and have done it good elsewhere, hence Davy Weir, then they should be appointed. The identity of the club has to come back from the top to the bottom. This is gone now. You can't be bringing championship sporting directors up. And I mean, look at Billy Davis said about Thelwell, man. That was hilarious. You know, he's even saying, look at the state. I couldn't believe that guy. They called him a soft lad. He couldn't believe he got that job at Rangers. So whether it happens now or whether we as fans need to make it happen, we all know this little Joe has to step back and we need to get Rangers' identity into that club. Let a manager come in that can work very well with them and we start to move forward. And I can't actually believe we're saying this. I can't believe we're having to say this out loud. Because it's
Neither can I, Kenny. Neither can I, mate. Neither can I. What I will say is, I don't know where these people get these apps from, but there's a thing, I want to see what it's called. It's called Flight Radar. And we are being told that there is a private jet leaving Norway bound for Glasgow. So read into that what you want. We will come on. I promise we'll come on to possible manager appointments in a wee second, but let me just leave that in the air. Who could possibly be a Norwegian manager?
Well, I was going to mention something before we talk about the potential manager that's getting suggested might be flying in from Oslo. We're talking about the advice that the Americans are getting. We've seen a lot in the director's box this season. We've seen a lot of appearances for proper Rangers men. You know, Graham Souness, Sir Alex Ferguson, Alex McLeish. And somebody that might fly in from Oslo will be very well known to Sir Alex Ferguson. And I very much doubt that these guys who are regulars at Ibrox this season don't have the ear of the American owners and will be telling them exactly what's expected at this football club. I really do think that the Americans will actually come good. So, listen, it might be a brand scout, but I'd expect them maybe travelling over in cattle class, you know.
Yes.
We're under the radar. But certainly I wouldn't be under any illusions. There'll be plenty of names getting put forward and plenty of suggestions put forward to the owners. So
it's terrible.
Just throwing it out there, guys. I'm just throwing it out there, but there's no direct flights for Finland or any up that way. You have to go through Norway to get here. So,
well, I mean, it could literally just be it could be a genuine businessman flying into Glasgow from Norway just on a private jet, right? So let's not get too ahead of ourselves. If it is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but I give up. But what I will say is,
I'm going to buck your tent. You know, I think, and I've said it on WhatsApp tonight. Ole was criminally underrated for how competitive he made Man United a really difficult time. And had it not been for a board forcing Ronaldo on him, you know, he was making a proper go at that.
That's true.
You know, he took Manchester United closer to win the league than anybody has since Sir Alex. You know,
I'll need to look at it again. I'll need to look at it again.
What he also did, he didn't spend a great deal of time in Turkey, but he walked into Besiktas and made an instant impact. We need somebody to come in and make an instant impact. And I wouldn't be upset if that's what happens and it's Ole that comes in and takes the wheel.
Right. Kieran McCluskey and Ian Rollo, thank you very much for becoming channel members on YouTube as we soar towards 500, which is absolutely incredible. Hope that you enjoy all the extra content. This is usually a member show, folks. Like I say, due to the breaking news, we decided just to make this one public. Paul Robertson, channel member. Martin Rabble, phone in tonight. I'm rather annoyed. No phone in tonight, Paul, because I cannot screen the calls and God knows who would phone in. But thank you for the support, my friend. And Vjoit, maybe that's who's flying in for Norway. Can you share the petition that's going around on Twitter? Get Thelwell and Stewart out. If I see that, buddy, I will certainly retweet it or share it or whatever it's called on Twitter these days. So thank you very much for the support as well, my friend. Darren, Rangers manager searches like that drunk guy in a night out, starts of aiming to land a 10, and after multiple knockbacks ends up with a howler.
Kid.
I didn't read that super chat before I brought it up, and do you know that way as it was getting closer to the end, I'm going, where's this going? Where's this going? Darren, mate, thank you very much. And Hipsies, why haven't the two men at the top not stepped in yet? Do you know what? We'll discuss that now before we become to future managerial appointments. Callum, at what point do Kavanagh and Marath step in?
Right now? Well, I mean, even Prague told us you're not going to hear from us much unless it's going badly. It's going badly. It is going really, really badly. So I don't even see how it's tenable to continue Stewart and Thelwell in their positions, because you know what's going to be happening now? Every single game, there's going to be banners about them. They're going to be getting pelters for the stands. In the director's box, going to be getting stick the whole time. It's not even going to be good for them, man. It's not even going to be good for them. They should just do the right thing and pack it up. But, you know, the only kind of logic I see in them being kept is, you know, the 49ers will maybe be looking at it. You know, Rangers have had a lot of change over the years. We can't just keep going through sacking people and all that. I think that's probably the line they'll maybe take, is they won't want to, you know, chuck Thelwell after 4 months. But it's like, come on, man. Like, they're doing so much damage, as I was saying, like, you know, in the recruitment, in this managerial hunt, you know, like, as I say, we're looking at the prospect, going to Bran on Thursday. And, you know, Rangers, we've always prided ourselves on being good in Europe, and that's been one of the few real positives the last few seasons, is the Thursday nights have been enjoyable. If we get gubbed on Thursday, you know, Europe's basically over. It's basically over, do you know? I don't know where Martin's gone, but aye, and then you're putting Stevie Smith into that role. You know, it's just unfair on him. They had so much time to get this manager over the line. Do you know what I mean? You know, and you look at the candidates as well. There's none that are really striking out to you. For me, it was Gerrard or Muscat. They're the ones who really could have re-energised the fan base and got a lot of people on board, and we would have given them time. I think you maybe could with McInnes as well, to be fair, but I just can't see McInnes going from Hearts to Rangers. I'm sorry. I'd like to see it because, you know, experienced Scottish manager, but I just don't see why he would. And I think he's made his position clear. You know, obviously Martin's been going on a bit about Stephen Robinson as well. You know, I'm just not entirely convinced he'd want the job. Is it too big a step up? The damage is unbelievable, guys. You know, I think it's well past time for them to step in. You know, and also the thing is, they were leading this whole managerial charge as well. They said they were taking the brunt head on. You mind that statement they'd done when Russell Martin was sacked, saying, you know, we're going to be doing a thorough review. We're sorry, we take responsibility. We're going to get this right. You haven't got it right, guys. And see, to be fair, it looks like when they were actually negotiating it, Muscat and Gerrard was no problem. The clear common denominator with everything that's going wrong with our club at the minute is Thelwell and Stewart, guys. Thelwell and Stewart, and it's well past time for them to chuck him, I'd say. Well past time. Should have happened yesterday, probably. But they need to go.
Sorry, I had to run downstairs and get myself a nice wee can of energy juice. It is sugar-free, so... if Red Bull want to sponsor the Rangers Rabble, which they currently don't, feel free to get in contact at rangersrabble@gmail.com. And if any stairlift companies want to sponsor the Rabble as well, so I can get up and down the stair and still be able to breathe, then get in touch. William Graham's back in again. Thank you very much, William. I swear to God, if Solskjaer gets the job, I'm done. Kenny Allen made a few good points there. I don't pay that much attention to English football. I know that you do. Solskjaer's time at Man U, I think he done pretty well at Molde, didn't he, before that? I don't think he had quite as good a time at Cardiff, I don't think.
No.
Is Solskjaer the type of name that will appease the Rangers support?
I just get Carlos VH is my pal, and he's just put a comment on there that he works for something that he's got some insight into the Muscat thing. I'll read it in a minute. But you're right. Listen, he was as I said, his percentage of winning at Man United proved that he shouldn't have been sacked as early as he did. I mean, I think he finished second, Dan, is that right?
He finished second, aye.
Yeah, so and his management at Mulder was fine. I mean, he won a league, he'd won a cup and things like that. So he's Swansea was just not the job for him. But again, I'm going to have to go back the way. Can you trust the guy? And it's no him you're trusting, because you're not going to get the real Ollie. You're going to get Ollie with Thelwell's players. That's what's worrying all is now. It's nothing to do with you can't actually physically. If us fans know that the puppeteer's giving him whoever, then the players in the dressing room, how are they meant to fully respect the manager who is coaching and pushing them in whatever direction when he can't even pick his own players, man? It's worrying me a lot. I'm not saying it's going to be all right. We don't know who they're talking to. I mean, one of the tabloids is now saying that Danny Rowe's getting interviewed next week, but I think that's just clickbait. I think that's just to sell papers.
I don't believe it. Rangers messed them about.
Aye, I think it's clickbait, mate. But yeah, I'm frightened of the guy that comes in, because I know for a fact he's going to do what he's told, because that's the only person Thelwell wants. And that's staggering at a club who we are, the history we've got. It's got to be cohesion for sporting director doing, and I'm not so sure why we need one anyway. You know, it's just what if you get a great manager in and a good coaching setup? What's the sporting director need? What do you need him for? If you've got a great scouting network as well. So yeah, I don't know, and I haven't even got an opinion on who I want, because who I want have got morality, and morality's not going to work, because morality managers want their own way and they want to pick their own players, because the sword falls in them. They lose their job. Sporting directors don't lose your. This is what pisses me off. He's sitting there picking players. We all know that now, and the managers are losing their job. So if you're picking the players, surely you've got a definitive impact on how these games are going. Then, so you should be getting your jotters, and he's not. So I'm worried about the manager that comes in. As soon as somebody signs up for him, to me, there's a percentage of he's just going to do what he's told, and that hasn't been working so far, guys. So. But I'll have a good read through this wee thing I get sent and see if I can put it across.
No, well, the players had a chance on Saturday, Alan, to prove that they were good enough. The players had a chance on Saturday to put the ghost of Russell Martin behind them and put on a performance. And for 45 minutes they did. Against, I think a lot of that had to do with the way that Jim Goodwin set up his Dundee United team in that first half, as to why we had so much possession, etc., and created so many chances. As soon as Jim Goodwin changed it, you could maybe argue that Stephen Smith didn't really know what he was doing. But again, I'm not going to put any blame at Stevie Smith's door. He shouldn't have been put in that position in the first place. But the players had a real opportunity to show the support that, no, we're here, we're going to fight, we're going to do our best. And they crumbled in that second half. So if prospective managers are looking at that team and going, right, well, moving forward when I go there, I can only take the players that he gives me, and this is the type of players that he's given me. Nah, no thanks.
That's definitely a concern. I think what you saw in the first half was the players enjoyed the freedom. You know, it was clear the shackles had been taken off a wee bit, and it basically just had a lot of pressure taken off from the manager overloading it with instruction, and just being able to go and play with a bit of freedom. And the work they put in the first half was really good. You know, they defended really well without winning the ball, and in the sense that the players were prepared to put in the hard yards and go and close players down so their teammates could win the ball. You know, so that they pressured players into mistakes. I think naturally they ended up dropping off in the second half a wee bit, but I thought the atmosphere around the ground had changed in the second half. And when the players have been weak mentally, you know, that didn't help. And then they just kind of dropped further and further. And for some reason, we changed the shape, you know. And as I said earlier, we brought Chamiti on, tried to go two up top to change the game, and it had a negative impact. You know, we were actually doing all right in the shape we were in. You know, Asgard was having a big influence. We left Joe Rothwell on for too long. You know, I think he played really well, but he's tired. We really needed to combat the energy that Dundee United put in the second half and bring the likes of Conor Barr and Lyle Cameron on, who could cope with that and cope with that intensity. There's mistakes there, you know, and listen, you can't have that amount of shots and possession and territory in the first half and only come out with one goal. You know, there's a missed opportunity that could really have changed the mood. But I think any prospective manager, head coach can look at that first half and see something he can work with.
Well, I really don't know anymore if managers can look at anything that we're doing, Callum, and say, I quite fancy going in there, especially, as Ian Mitchell was saying, Ollie at the wheel, Jesus. Jess, actually, whoever Jess is. I've never read the Bible, but I don't know if Jess is in it. But Ian Mitchell's saying that. But he's also, Callum, too much snobbery in our part. Could have gone out and got Shankland, Lewis Ferguson, and Martin's boy, Lenton Miller. Never heard of him either, Ian. And keep the Mulligan deal together. Snobbery is one thing, but complete and utter control over everything that you're doing is another. And we're sort of repeating ourselves here, and I'll make this the kind of final point on this, and we'll maybe have a wee quick discussion again about who comes in next. Snobbery's killing us, mate. Absolutely killing us. I mean, just some of those names there. I was against Lewis Ferguson. I didn't think he was good enough. I was wrong, right? I loved the boy Lennon Miller. I thought he was a great player. I thought he could have come in and been Rangers' next midfielder for the next 10 years. Could have went on to be Rangers captain. Would have went on to get loads and loads of Scotland call-ups. Shankland, that was a wee bit, back and forth. But when you see Chermiti and Miovski, albeit the service hasn't been fantastic, and you look at somebody like Shankland and you go, no, he would have been much better than what we've got. And of course, the cancelling the Mulligan deal as well for Thelwell. It's just not going to work. It's just not going to work at all.
Aye, no, snobbery and arrogance from the absolute clown Thelwell. I mean, all of those players would improve our team, guys. All of those players would improve our team. And all of them probably would have wanted to go to, well, I'm not sure about Lennon Miller, but obviously Ferguson and Shankland, they would have killed to get a move to Rangers. Do you know what I mean? But they just seem set on kind of players they have contacts with, or they know if they're down in England and all that. It's just, once again, their incompetence just really, really hurting us. I mean, you don't even have to look at Scottish players necessarily, just the SPL. I mean, you're telling me Claudio Braga, if we got him, he wouldn't improve our team right now. I mean, I think he'd certainly do a better job than Chermiti or whatever. Although, even to be fair on Chermiti and Miovski, as you were touching on, not a great service either. I actually thought first half yesterday, Miovski was pretty good, to be fair. I thought he was kind of linking up a lot more and looking better. But I just thought Chermiti, when he came on, he just done absolutely nothing. And see what would feed more into Ian Mitchell's point there as well about the arrogance, man. It's like, see when we brought on Lyle Cameron, Connor Barron, improvement. There was improvement. Connor Barron was just bringing the ball forward. In fact, did Lyle Cameron come on, actually? I can't remember.
No, he didn't.
No, Connor
was
Barron.
it Finlay Curtis who came on, wasn't it?
Yeah, Finlay Curtis.
Connor Barron, I thought Connor Barron gets quite a lot of stick. I do think he's quite a limited player, but in terms of the kind of energy he offers you, I think he does kind of suit you quite well in some of these SPL sort of games. We need to win the battle first, and I thought he looked quite good. The Mulligan deal as well was absolutely honking, man. Yeah, I think he would have been a brilliant signing for us. So it is pure arrogance, guys. It's these guys who, I think they rate themselves a lot higher than they really are. I think they think, I've worked at Man United and Everton, big English clubs. Rangers is going to be a breeze, man. This is Scottish League. But no, you aren't that good, guys. Like, I don't know why this Kevin Thelwell thinks he has the right to, just totally dictate everything in the club, seemingly. It just doesn't make any sense to me, do you know? Like, it's one thing to have a kind of director of football, but even in my eyes, they shouldn't be negotiating the final say in the manager and stuff like that. Like, they can maybe focus on transfers and long-term football and strategy, but he just seems way too powerful, and everything he touches, he's like a gremlin, man. He's just screwing everything he touches at the minute. Now, to be fair, to take a slight positive, I do think that first half, yes, it was probably the best 45 minutes in the league. And I think it was kind of what Alan was saying, stripping it back, keeping it simple, just letting players play with a bit of freedom. The one slight positive I've maybe taken is that I have seen worse Rangers squads, you know what I mean? I do think there's talent in that team. I thought Ant-Man first half was absolute dynamite, as was Asgard. Gassama was very good. It's just really annoying how they can't seem to do it for a whole 90 minutes. And, why is that? Do you know? Big problems with the club. Thelwell definitely needs to go. I don't know who we're even going to get in next, man, but I don't see how they can win the fans back over. Anyone that we get in now, I don't think, unless we pull a blinder and get a Lampard or a McInnes or something, which is very unlikely, they're gonna have it from the fans straight away, because we never really wanted them, and that's just kind of the sad reality, and it's purely on Thelwell and Stewart for that, because they're the ones who've ruined this managerial hunt. And recruited so badly in the summer, you know.
So poor. It's so poor, mate. It's so poor. Ian Hunter and Mark Edwards. Mark Edwards. Mark, thank you. And Ian, for joining up and becoming a part of the Rabble Network on YouTube. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I hope that you enjoy all the extra content. And Spinning Bird Flip, who has been a member for 14 months. The Thelwells need to go. Yes, they absolutely do. And Kenny, just finally on this then, super chatting from Aldo. Thank you very much, Aldo. If the owners had ambitions or sense, they would bin the two Muppets and bring in Weir and Gerrard. Forgetting who they would bring in for a second, the owners have to be looking at this and thinking to themselves, we need to bin these Muppets. At what point did the fans completely turn against the owners?
I don't know how much more they need to see for a start. I don't know if it falls in lovely. Got a bit of a caveat there for what I sent you. Did you manage to get a scoop at it?
I tried to read it, but it's proper English.
Right. So. I know. So it's basically just saying that it's the player trading model that's scaring off the managers, to the fact that what's scaring people away is the fact that Kevin Thelwell's interpretation of this strategy is that he will be not only the one that decides comings and goings, but that he'll also make strategic recommendations. And if a player, Thelwell said, want to one candidate, if we knew an offer was coming in for a player that he's decided would be accepting, then there would be an expectation on the manager to drop him from the manager's plans and invite anything happening that could kill off the deal. In terms of recruitment, the man can make recommendations and be a stakeholder in the process, but decisions will be made collectively by a group of people largely made up by Thelwell, his pals and his son. This is coming from somebody that done work with Rangers.
Which I mean is something that we could all probably guess right now. We're not sitting here saying that that's 100% true.
No, but it's galvanising.
But the evidence so far would back that up, Kenny.
It says there, the face of it, the strategy by the Americans is sound and makes sense. If we are winning, hugely important. But the structuring and communication of this from Thelwell and Stewart is said to be abysmal and alienating. And that's why some of the higher, bigger characters are saying, whoa, wait a minute here. So, effectively, what he done, we're asking. Mm-hmm. So, somebody like Wolves has put in the money for him. Where the Draskin go? Out the team. So, that what I've just said there happened already, we're asking. And when that gets sent to me, it came from a credible person that I know. And I went, wow. And I usually just speak to him and we don't put it out there, but he asked me, text me, he's on, I remember here, he said, listen, I'll give you that one, but it galvanises what we're all saying, that's what I'm saying, but it shows you that we're all right, all is here and all the fans and the Rabble family and all that, but we're not silly, and that's just to galvanise the fact that the guy that does consultancy work for them, one of the candidates has said that's what he just said right out, that if there's a big bid comes in and he alone decides to accept it, he would like the manager to take him out the team. There'll be an expectation for the manager that comes in to take him out the team so it doesn't scupper the deal that he's made the decision on. Wow. And because of the Raskin and the Wolves thing has happened like that, it can't be anything else because it's already happened. And he tried to say, oh, he fell out with Russell Martin and he done this and he done that. No, mate, there was a bid coming in, it was big enough and Thelwell decided that he was going to go. Martin done what he was told, kept him at the team, and we were all surmising that he had a big argument and fell out and all that.
That does happen across Europe.
Yeah, but wow. So if you're doing all right, nah, it's not for me, man, that's crazy.
I think Kenny touched on the point, but, it's not that is necessarily an alien concept. It's the communication and delivery.
Yeah.
It's gone a bit over the top and dictating who the manager does and doesn't play. Clubs all over the world will accept a bid, without the manager having a say in it, because a bid comes in, it's too good to turn down. We've criticised the club at times for not accepting bids, at the right time, but it's how they're going about it. Now, the new owners have seen that Patrick Stewart dragged his heels over Philip Clement. He gave him a far more steady execution than the results merited. Stewart and Thelwell, they've made a rickroll on Arce, the manager hunt over the summer, you know, ultimately culminating in a terrible decision to appoint Russell Martin. And Morath and Kavanagh are bringing candidates and top candidates to the table, handing them over to Stewart and Thelwell, who are turning these guys away. They're giving these guys rope and they're hanging themselves. These guys won't last. They'll see that Russell Martin was literally chased out of the club. They'll see the banners and the chants that are getting held up and sang at the ground. They'll see the fact that people are approaching the director's box with abuse to the guys there. You know, there's going to become a concern in the safety of these guys to continue attending games at football. And you don't want to see that. You know, this is not something that's a good look on our club when directors are going to end up having to stay away from games, but it's going to get to that point. And Americans won't be blind to this. Americans won't be accepting of this. You know, they're seeing exactly what's happening when they're bringing guys to the table, getting them pretty much agreeing to come and take the manager's job, and then they hand over to the executives and then they fuck it up.
That's effectively what's happening at the football club right now.
Yep.
Folks, that will do us for tonight. We are back tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. for your morning rabble. That is your chance to phone in the show if you are a channel member. And then we are back at 12:30 with the afternoon rabble. Hopefully there's been a few more updates coming out of the football club, so we've got a little bit more of an idea about what's actually going on. And then tomorrow night at 7:15, we are back with the Monday Night Rabble, which is available to all channel members as well. Please make sure before you leave.
6 tomorrow.
And the women's show at 6:30, of course. My apologies, Alan. The women's show at 6:30, which is available right here on the public YouTube. So just before you go, folks, please do hit that like button. It really does help. Please make sure that you are subscribed. 62% of people who watch the show do not subscribe. So if you're one of that 62%, just hit that subscribe button. 100% free, takes 2 seconds, and it makes us look far more important than what we actually are. So hit that subscribe button, folks. Really help us out. And of course, if you want to become a channel member as well and get access to all the extra shows that we do, watch alongs to every game, a phone in 4 days a week. We've got the randoms, we've got the Sunday supplement, we've got the boardroom, which is this show here. We've got the EPL show, we've got extreme gaming, we've got the wrestling, loads of stuff. So if you want to get involved in any of that stuff, click the links in the description and iCammy, and you can join the Rabble Network now. Callum, Kenny, Alan, thank you very, very much for your company tonight. Thank you to everybody who's tuned in for all the super chats, all the comments, all the likes, all the subscribes. And I would say enjoy the rest of your Sunday night. But Rangers have made sure that we won't.